Hey there. I'm Shadow. Your local squid boy's out getting drunk on Pepsi for some reason, instead of sitting down and recording the voiceover for this shit. So I snuck onto his computer and did it myself. Anyway, I can only describe this year's Stanley Cup playoffs as a tale of two conferences. On the right, you have teams that really struggled to get a foothold over everyone else, plus the Boston Bruins. The other side of this bracket is full of teams that have been hotter than the Calgary Flames, I'm just saying. Just ignore the sudden fake Canadian accent, since I'm in an unusual hockey mood. I know, it's not often the ultimate life form talks about grown men fighting over a vulcanized rubber puck while dancing on ice, and yet here we are. We've really come full circle now from the Shadow and Omega hockey toy from Mickey D's. If you still have one that works, you probably had an awesome childhood. Now, before I get into the predictions themselves, I should point out that I personally am biased towards the Los Angeles Kings, no doubt from their team colors. The only difficulty is that it reminds me of this worthless jackal guy I ran into once upon a time that has those same colors. And he regrettably hails from Los Angeles.
You can't fuck with us.
It would be awkward as all hell if we ever have to share bragging rights, or even if he shows his pathetic face around me again. Maybe I'll become a Bruins enjoyer for this playoffs.
Never forget the
Also,
President's Trophy
why
curse.
does Equals Peach keep snapping pictures of a piece of paper for these videos? It's called technology, you incompetent uncooked calamari. You should know you're from 10,000 years in the future. How are you not a Seattle Kraken fan? Their mascot is literally your kind, and they have Pepsi there. I don't get why you keep going back to the same team that keeps making you miserable and/or bringing shame to the state of hockey. Yeah, they were fucking hot down the stretch, but this is the time of the year where shit matters, and you know what that means. But even then, it won't matter in the end, because you already know the finals are going to be Boston versus Vegas.
Vegas sucks.
Whoops, you did not just hear that. I should get on with the predictions, shouldn't I? Can you tell that squid boy over there loves to ramble? I don't understand how you guys put up with that shit.
Skip it up and that up.
I wanted to take a look at how early a team could clinch the President's Trophy, because I remember the 2016 Capitals had done so with several weeks left in the season, as did the Bruins this year. All I know is that Boston now has the all-time NHL record for wins, and accordingly points in a regular season. But how many wins does it take to gain dignity? More than 65. Boston's still got to play the games. The Florida Panthers seem awfully streaky right now. They won 6 in a row leading up to the final week of the season. They had lost 4 in a row immediately before then. It really seems like their President's Trophy win last year was a fluke, and now they'll be on the receiving end of a brutally unforgiving Beantown beatdown. The Bruins clearly took it easy in their final game against Montreal and still scored 5 goals. I don't think the Panthers have any chance against Boston when they're playing at full strength. I anticipate Florida will open the door and then promptly get swept out. Then they can go straight to the beach once the series is over. Now for a series I've been keeping my eye on for a while, mostly because it's been all but set in stone for a month. The rematch to hopefully end all rematches in the form of the Toronto Maple Leafs, once again drawing the Tampa Bay Lightning. Here's the thing. You honestly can't tell me with a straight face that the Leafs aren't going to get their long-awaited series win this time around. Look how badly Tampon Bay's been sputtering down the stretch. They could have competed with Toronto for second in the division, but here they go crumbling like a graham cracker to the likes of Ottawa and Montreal. The Habs. I know Leafs faithful has had to put up with a lot of shit lately, but the team is still flushed with talent all around, and has been playing well enough down the stretch to make a deep playoff run for once. Even better, they have the chance to make it convincing. Leafs in 5. I guess Equals Peach wants me to kill him now since his loaded baseball team still has yet to win a single game. But I can't do that for him, as I'm just a cloned AI voice created on 11labs.io. No, this channel is not sponsored. The race for the Metropolitan Division came down to the last day of the season, but ultimately taking the deserved crown was the Carolina Hurricanes. Or was it deserved? I'm not quite sure what to make of these guys. Their team statistics seem to tell a different story from what's showing up in the standings. As for their opponent, a quick look at the New York Islanders' performance down the stretch tells me that home ice matters more than usual for these guys. Take a recent home-and-home against Tampa Bay, for example, where the home team won both games handily. These two teams are pretty evenly matched up, but the Isles have the second worst power play in the league. I think this lack of scoring prowess with the man advantage will prove to be their downfall, and the Canes will take the series in 6 games. Then the New Jersey Devils take on the New York Rangers, and oh boy, will this be fun. I can't fathom the insane level of talent on the Rangers roster, but they haven't really set the league on fire like I would have expected. Meanwhile, the Devils ended the year on a torrid stretch and nearly caught Carolina for the division title. But they'll take consolation in stomping their bitch from Madison Square Garden into the ground. When these teams meet in the playoffs, it never bodes well for Broadway, unless the year is 1994. Accordingly, the Devils will sink the Rangers into Liberty Island after a 6-game bout. So much for going all in. Remember the Vegas Golden Knights? They're finally healthy again and atop the Western Conference as a result. Be very afraid. The Winnipeg Jets are their opponent, but I think they're going to be a pest that Vegas will struggle to get rid of. The Jets' goaltending and superior penalty kill will help to make this into a series, but the Knights' massive talent surplus will eventually break through and shoot Winnipeg down in 6 games. Then we get to witness another rematch when the Edmonton Oilers play host to the aforementioned Los Angeles Kings. No, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. Edmonton is just too hot right now.
We'll see about that.
One does not simply ignore the fact that they won their last 9 games in a row. It sure helps that they can score a fucking lot and have the best damn power play in the NHL. Also, LA doesn't deserve anything good for 7 years after trading their dynasty goalie to a literal doormat in Columbus.
They did what they had to do.
It doesn't matter that they flipped him back to a contender again. The Kings did him dirty. Let them be punished by losing in embarrassing fashion to the Oilers in 5 games.
Let them prove you wrong,
Keep talking
bitch.
all the shit you want. It might help them win games. The Central Division is where shit gets real, because the Colorado Avalanche get to start their title defense against Equals Peach's new favorite hockey club in the Seattle Kraken, a team in only their sophomore season. Let's just hope they don't run into Vegas. The warning signs are there to say that this will be a quick series. The Avalanche still boast a core that can score a fucking lot. Their big guns got healthy at the right time to climb back from 6th place in the Central all the way to another division crown. The Kraken already struggled enough against the playoff teams. They don't stand a chance against Colorado. I think the Avs will play up to their lofty expectations and sweep Seattle back into the abyss. Welcome to the NHL. Then we're in for even more fun when the Dallas Stars take on the Minnesota Wild. One bitter fan base is not happy about this outcome. I wonder which one. If I've ever heard that Squid Boy preach anything, it's that defense is apparently the key to winning in the playoffs. I realize now that this has been the MO for the Wild since the All-Star break. Anything to get out of the hamster wheel that is the first round, am I right? The Stars have had slightly better stats all across the board, but Minnesota has been able to hang with the best of them lately. Like the Avalanche, they too had sat outside of the playoff bubble at mid-season before comfortably slotting themselves into the big dance. Translation? They're fucking hot. Also, they completely fixed their horrendous special teams unit. They can even score short-handed. Should their new strategy be to take all the penalties? It might just be crazy enough to work. I predict the Wild will find all the ways to win games over the Stars and blow them up in 6. Are you not entertained? Now we get to move on to the second round, where the Maple Leafs run into the industrial fan known as the Bruins, otherwise known as their boogeyman. Well, not so fast. Toronto's shown me recently that they can compete with Boston, so I expect them to play well enough to extend this series to 6 games, maybe 7 if they get enough power play time. However, I don't think they can get past a Bruins squad that won 79% of their games on the year. Boston just seems too good right now. As such, I anticipate they'll break the hearts of Leafs fans everywhere and blow Toronto away in 6 games if they are lucky. So who awaits the Bruins for the Eastern Conference Finals? Between the Hurricanes and the Devils, I have to give the edge to New Jersey here. They're playing at a superior pace, especially after having already destroyed their Broadway bitch. And they have a huge advantage in scoring depth anyway. The Devils will send the Canes straight to hell, as I always say, by beating them in a 5-game series, thereby claiming the souls of their fans in the process. Poor bastards. On the Western Front, the Golden Knights get the Oilers for their second-round matchup for some reason. Do the first 2 rounds really have to be intra-divisional? This could very well end up a reason for Vegas to launch a petition on change.org, because Edmonton is not the team the Knights want to play at this point. The Oilers kinda dominated the season series against Vegas. It makes sense given their ability to score pretty much whenever the fuck they want, especially with the man advantage. Their generational talent just had the second-best scoring year of all time among skaters not known as either the Great One or Super Mario. I don't think the Knights can handle the onslaught of goals coming their way. Edmonton will put the dagger through their throat after a 6-game battle. So never mind my previous Boston versus Vegas remark, because that's not important yet. What matters right now is the incoming Avalanche Wild tilt. Here's the thing. By just about every measure possible, the Avalanche have been the far hotter squad. They're coming off a sweep of the Kraken, too, just like how their cup run started in last year's playoffs. Their guys are racking up hat tricks for days, which ordinarily would be impressive enough, but this is the time of year where teams gotta bear down and play good team hockey. That's been Minnesota's specialty since the All-Star break. Their defense-minded approach, coupled with the emergence of a rock-solid goalie tandem, will be enough to stop Colorado's high-flying offensive attack, which has been without their captain all year long. I expect the Wild will leave the Avs to freeze in that infamous Minnesota weather by beating them in 6 games, ultimately clinching the series in the state of long, cold winters. Try not to get frostbitten up there, guys. The Bruins will meet the Devils for the Prince of Wales trophy. Okay, do I really have to elaborate on this one? New Jersey deserves some props for getting to this point, but Boston has at least 5 things that the Devils don't. A top 2 scoring year, the fewest goals allowed on the season, the clear favorite for the Vezina Trophy, the best damn penalty kill in the NHL, and a shitload of playoff experience. Expect New Jersey to get mauled to elimination in 5 games. All that's left for the Bruins is to wait on the winner of the Oilers-Wild series. I'm sure Oilers fans are foaming at the mouth to see that ridiculous losing stretch from a decade ago finally blossom into the great dynasty to end all others. It could very well have happened this year if the Avalanche were here instead of the Wild. Edmonton was surely itching to exact revenge on Colorado for last year, especially given how scorching hot they've been getting to this point. There's only one problem. Edmonton is not Tampa Bay. Minnesota was built to handle the big boys. They already did it with Colorado. Plus, we're probably due for a surprise team to take the league by storm. The Wild have been that dark horse team thus far. They will spill their feral fury onto the Oilers in 6 games and bankrupt the oil industry in the process. Go ahead and yell at me about how biased my predictions have been so far. I told you I'm a Bruins enjoyer after all.
You normie!
Anyway, your 2 teams left playing for the Stanley Cup in 2023 are going to be the Beantown Bears and the Gopher State Bears. If Boston goes on to win the Cup, they'll undoubtedly go down as perhaps the best team in NHL history. But have you ever considered how difficult it's gotta be to pull off shit like that? The team that held the previous record for points in a season, the 1977 Montreal Canadiens at 132, accomplished their feat before the advent of overtime. They won 60 of their 80 regular season games, all in regulation. That's simply amazing. Now, where am I going with this? I should point out that just because a team breaks the league record for wins in a season doesn't mean they'll be gifted a clear path to that gleaming silver chalice. The Tampa Bay Lightning of 2019 can tell you firsthand how that feels. The Bruins may have won 65 games, but they aren't invincible. It's awfully difficult to keep up a pace like that through an 82-game season, plus the playoffs. It really feels like they've been playing out of their minds this whole time. All the effort they've put in through 100-plus games, only to run into a Gus bus. Boston will probably run out of gas in Game 7, and the Wild will defeat the Bruins at TD Garden and win the state of hockey its long-awaited Stanley Cup. If this actually comes true, your local Squid Boy will sit through the entire Shadow the Hedgehog video game. Yes, all 10 non-canon endings plus the last story, just as soon as he rebuilds his bank account. But what are the chances of that happening? The only sport he can correctly predict is baseball, which reminds me, Joe Buck sucks. Later, fuckers.